Hi, my name is Lashon. I'm an addict. Um, I got one clean date. I've been in one treatment center. I go to one fellowship. I have one sponsor. I make one meeting a day. My clean date is December 28th, 1994. I haven't found no reason to use from that day to this day. My story is I'm one of the kids that was took away from her parents at a very young age. Um, My mother was an addict at the time. See, I come from a broken home. So my mother was an addict. She did heroin, and let me see, they took us away from my mother when I was like 6 years old. But before that, we had got took a couple of times, and she came right back and got us. The last time that they took us, we stayed in Water the State from 6 to 16. So that was 10 years we was awarded the state. Um, Everything I know about growing up come from in my home and in the streets, being in the foster system, being bounced around from this house to that house. Um, Let me see. I'm the oldest of four. My mother had three girls and one boy. I'm the oldest. Me and my sister next to me, Gloria, they kept us two together, and they separated my little brother and my little sister, and they was in two different places, and so we grew up separate from each other. However, we did see each other every now and then, or whenever we got a visit with our mother, that's when we would see each other all together. Anyway, I stayed in Water State for like 10 years, and I just wanted to be like my mother when I grew up. My mother was a hustler. We seen the street life. When we was little, we ain't had no curfews or all that kind of stuff. Our house was the hangout house where people wanted to come and hang out with us, and because we could do anything. I remember one night we stayed up all night just to see how dark it get outside. You know. So coming up as a kid was kind of rough because all the parties was at our house. So we started drinking at a very young age, probably about 4 or 5, because people would leave their cups on the table and we'll drink what's left in the cup, or acting like they'll go pour this out and we'll go pour it in us. You know how it goes. So anyway, coming up as in the system, by the time I made it to the system, I was already a hustler because I had got molested in my mother house by her so-called brother. Sometimes, we had them people, we be going, this my brother, and they let him stay with us and all that. And the man was molesting me, and my mother didn't know. And I didn't tell her because I didn't know to tell her because I was only like 4 or 5 years old when this was happening. So I remember being a victim, but I also remember turning into the volunteer. And I can remember one night my mother came in, and it was in the daytime, and she was like, get your butt from up under him. You don't know no little girl lay up under no man, but she never asked me why I was laying up under him. Because I think I was like 5, 6. And anyway, he ended up going to jail. I never seen him no more. And then by the time we got took from her, because he used to give me money, he used to let me stay up late. I used to get special treatments, to do this little stuff. So coming up as a kid, I don't really think I had a chance to be a kid because that did something to my spirit, right? My whole spirit left my body after that first time. So when I grew up, I said I want to be a hustler like my mother. And you got to be careful what you ask for because you just might get it because that's what happened. I ended up turning into my mother. Anyway, so from 6 to 16, we was in foster care, and I remember being in foster care and they was trying to molest me, and I was like, no, if you gonna do something with me, you gonna have to pay me for me and my sister. So that's when my hustling began. So it was like, if you don't give me what I want, you ain't getting what you want, and if you try to take it, I'ma tell, and your mama gonna lose her license. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about as a kid, right? So anyway, I was hustling in the system. Um, they moved us around so much. And then me and my sister, they, like I say, they kept us together, but they didn't keep us together. Because one minute we'll be living in the same house, and the next minute we'll be living next door to each other in the group homes and stuff. And so, anyway, but me and my sisters, this next to me, we stayed close together. So by the time I was 16, I was in the streets. It was over. My disease had took me to the streets. I hadn't gotten into like hard drugs yet, and that's because my mother had at 16. Right. Let me back up. So when we was in the system, growing up in this system, mind you, we was running away. I was running away from the system, and I would go and find my mother, hang out with my mother, and then I would end up hanging out with gangs and stuff. I was hanging out with people that was, doing what they was doing, and so I became a product of the streets. And so I knew how to hustle because the streets had already taught me how to hustle, right? So when I would hang out with my mother, she would send me back to the place after so long, and then I go back and run away again. And this was like a vicious cycle for me, right? So I knew how to hustle in the streets. I already knew some stuff about the streets, and I knew how to hustle in the homes. So growing up I grew up fast, right? So at the age of 16, I got pregnant, and my mother was like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna raise no kids. If you want to come stay with me, you're gonna have to get rid of that baby because I'm not raising no more babies." And I was like 4.5 months, didn't even know I was pregnant. All I knew was I was eating and sleeping and craving peanut butter and pickles. So anyway, I ended up having a Salem abortion, and I never got pregnant no more after that. And after that, my mother went to court for us, and we all came home. All of us came home, and my little brother went with my auntie. So she had all three her girls, and her sister had my auntie. My auntie had my little brother. So we all came up in the same. Me and my sisters came up in the same household. I was way more advanced than them. They used to try to hang out with me. I'd be like, "Nah, y'all can't hang out with me," because I knew I was faster than them, and my mind was a little bit more mature than them, and so I wouldn't let them see me do what I seen my mother do. So after she got us back, my mother relapsed, and she got killed. Her boyfriend was a big drug dealer, and he killed my mother. He shot her in the head with a 357 2 feet away. And I remember the night before my mother got killed, me and her got into an argument about a guy that I ain't even with today. She wanted me to leave from off the east side and come stay with her at his house on the west side, and I didn't want to be on the west side because my mother had this whole house and we was in it. So it was like it was our house, me and my two sisters, right? So my little sister stayed over there with my mother. I was like, "Bitch, I'm not staying here with y'all. We got our own house. I'm going back home." Woo, 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 woo. And then the next morning, my grandmother came over there and she was like, "Everybody been looking for you." I said, "Ain't nobody been looking for me because I've been here home all day, all night." He was like, "Well, sit down. Did you hear what happened to your mother?" I was like, "What happened?" I was just with my mother last night. She was like, "No, sit down. We got to tell you something." I was like, "I ain't got to sit down. Tell me." She was like, "Your mother got killed last night." And after that, I just lost it. I went straight to the streets. Straight. My auntie, I had to go stay with my auntie. And we went to my auntie house. She was so strict. She stayed in Oak Park. And by the time I got to Oak Park, it was too quiet. Then we was going to school, and school didn't have my attention. That made my head hurt, so I couldn't stay focused no way. So what happened is we ended up getting a job. It was this guy that was delivering pizza for Domino's because I was working for Domino's Pizza at 16. Now, this guy come from the east side. He was cute. It's always the cuteness, right? But he was cute and he had my attention, and I was like, "Where you stay? You stay out here too?" He was like, "Nah, I stay on the east side." and that's where me and my sister was from because most homes that we was in was on the east side. And so what happened is I ended up hooking up with him, going over his house sometimes on the weekend. And then my auntie was like, "Well, you can't do this and you can't do that. And if you can't follow my rules, then you could just leave." And I said, at that point, I said, "Well, I'm just going to leave because I can't follow your rules." And I left and I never looked back. I was in the streets from 16 until all the way up until I got my life together. Because once I hooked up with him, the guy who delivered the pizza, he the one who turned me on to getting hard drugs. Okay, so we went to his house. He was rolling up we ain't had smoke blunts back then. We smoked joints. And then he crushed some white stuff and put on his marijuana. And I was like, "What's that?" Don't ever ask somebody what's that. Curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction brought it back. So I asked him, like, "What's that?" And he was like, "You ain't never smoked no 51 before?" "No, you don't need to smoke this. You just smoke the weed and I'm going to smoke this." So he was smoking his little 51 and it was smelling sweet. And I was like, "Well, let me try to hit it. Let me see what it do." And so he let me hit it. And all it did for me was make me break out in a sweat and my heartbeat started racing. And I was like, "Can I go lay across your bed?" And he said, "Yeah." So after that, I didn't get hooked right away. It took me a minute to get hooked. So the next time I went with him, because when I left my auntie house, I ended up moving in with this guy. So I'm with him now. So we working and we going back to his house. We work all week, get high on the weekend. Then you got to work all. And now I realized at one point, okay, the next time we went and got high, we was at his friend's house, and they was smoking out of these bowls, and I could see this cloud. Here I am, curious again, and I'm like, "Let me try that." And once I tried that, it was, the rest. It was like 10 years later. I stayed in the streets longer than I wanted to stay. Did things that I didn't want to do. You know, it could have cost me my life, but I know I had a God with me all the stuff that I went through. So I end up going in the streets, quitting the job, being in the streets, trying to get high 24/7. That's all I did for the next 10 years was smoke, smoke. I'm talking about smoke crack. From 16 to 26, I smoked crack. You know, and I remember people would say, why you do this? Why you do this? And I remember trying to go get some help. My sister and them, family was looking for me, trying to get me to go to treatment, and I ain't even know what treatment was. Had never heard of treatment, none of that stuff. All I know is they wanted me to go get some help, and I wasn't ready to go get no help, so I didn't go. So the next 10 years, I'm in the streets doing everything to get some change, jumping in and out of cars. I done lost touch with the world. My living skills have reduced to the animal level. I started living in abandoned houses, using the bathroom outside, jumping in and out of cars with strangers, turning tricks. I started just doing everything, like I didn't have a will to live. I just wanted to die. I remember being in the world but out of touch with the world, right? So I stayed in some places where you go through the back door. If you miss the first two steps, you will end up in the basement, and nobody wants to find you till you start stinking, right? So I left there after I got sick. It wasn't okay. Wait a minute. Let me back up. So I remember it was Christmas, and I didn't even know it was Christmas. It was cold outside. It was snowing. And I'm like, "Dang, where everybody at?" It was like hours and hours. I ain't see no cars. It was like I was in this world all by myself. And finally, this car pulled up, and this man, he said, "Baby, it's Christmas. Go home. Take this $20 and go home. It's Christmas." And I remember saying, "It is." And on Christmas, you would think it's Christmas because they got Christmas lights, it's snowing, it's cold. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about being out of touch with what's going on around me. So anyway, I end up taking the $20. Of course, I didn't go home because I didn't have a home to go to. My home was an abandoned house or anywhere where they would let me in. And I was one of the people in the streets that everybody liked, so I could stay here or I could stay there. I knew how to live out there. I knew how to survive, right? So anyway, to speed it up, I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired at 26. And I remember I was on the corner of Grand Mac. That's when the man pulled over. It was like 3 days later. I remember it was storming, it was snowing, it was slush on the ground. I start just out of nowhere, just start crying like, if it's a God out here and you hear me, please help me. I know you did not put me down here to live like this. I know it's a better way to live. And I'm just walking and I'm talking to God. This ain't about no negotiation. I'm screaming from the bottom of my heart. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So in my mind, I'm finna go up here to the police station on St. Jean and Mac, turn myself in because I know I got warrants. And I get up to the police station to turn myself in, tell them I got warrants. I need some help. They was like, baby, we ain't got no room for you. You gotta go downtown somewhere. You gotta leave out of here. And I was like, what? Now it's bad when the police won't like you, right? So I said, you know what? I'll be back. And I'm gonna go down in my head. I went down the street. I stole something out the store. And lo and behold, what police showed up? The ones that was in that lobby. I said, oh my God. And they came in that store and seen it was me, and they took me out of handcuffs and put me in the back of the car and took me like 10 blocks and kicked me out. Say, baby, go get you some help. Right. Now that's the police. True story. I can't even make this up. Right. So I was walking and talking, and I asked this lady, can I use her phone? And I called my auntie. Because at this point, I wanted to just kill myself. I wanted to just jump in front of a bus or anything, a car, anything that just take me out of here. But I was just too scared. So I asked this lady, can I use her phone? And I remembered my auntie phone number. And I called them and asked them, can y'all please come get me? I need some help. And my auntie said, we on our way, but we're going to take you to the receiving hospital, and you got to tell them people you want to kill yourself, and you want to do this, you want to do that. And little did she know, that's how I was feeling for real. That was they talking about, just tell them this, just tell them that. Everything they was telling me to tell the people is right where I was at, right? Because I did feel like killing myself. I did feel suicidal. I was just tired, right? So by the time they took me in the back and sat me on that bed, I think I was asleep. I was out. When I sat down, I was out for the next 3 days. When I woke up, I was in the back of an EMS truck on my way to the crazy hospital. Got there, I went to sleep again for 2 more days, woke up, and I was in this crazy hospital, and I was looking around. I went out there and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be here. So I'm telling the lady, like, look, I'm not supposed to be here. I just don't want to get high no more. So she was like, well, you got to see the psychiatrist. You feel like killing yourself? I said, not no more. I just want to stop getting high. So I went and talked to the psychiatrist. They was like, okay, well, we're going to let you go. And your people going to have to come get you, but we're going to send you to Herman Kiefer. And we want you to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're going to find a treatment center for you to go to. So I goes to treatment. I goes home with my auntie. They come get me. They mad. They got to take me to Herman Kiefer in the morning. They took me to Herman Kiefer. I was there at 5:30. I was the first one there and the last one to leave because the lady was like, we cannot find nowhere for you to go. Everything is full because in the wintertime, everybody go to treatment, right? So everything was full. I was like, ma'am, I cannot leave. I cannot go back out there. If I go back out there, I'm going to die. Because I had some experiences out there that I ain't gonna never forget. Like I could remember being in this hotel room with this guy, and I was giving him some head with my eyes closed, and I seen a vision of two people bringing somebody outside in a body bag out of a vacant building, and I didn't know who it was, and it scared me. I was like, I hurry up and open my eyes. I was like, dang. So I was like, give me another hit. So I took another hit, and we in the hotel room, and this TV is cut off. The TV not on, right? Soon as I hit that stem, I seen the same vision on this TV, and the TV was off. And I'm looking at. I said, I'm telling the guy, like, you see that? You see that? He was like, see what? And I'm looking, and I'm like, you don't see them carrying that person out of that vacant building in the body bag? He was like, baby girl, you high. Drink some of this so you could calm down. I thought I was a psychic, so I was like, let me use your phone. I'm calling home, I'm calling my sister and them, making sure everybody all right. They was like, we all right. Is you all right? And so those kind of spiritual awakenings I will never forget. Because it was only when I went to treatment and they started making meetings that I realized that the person in the body bag was me. That was God showing me what was gonna happen to me if I kept staying out there getting high, right? So anyway, they take me to the crazy hospital. They send me to Herman Kiefer. I get to Herman Kiefer. The lady, I told the lady I cannot leave. If I leave, I'm gonna die. She said, you know what? I'm not leaving until I find somewhere for you to go. So she found this treatment center on the east side called New Life. Okay, hold on, y'all. Just let me get my train of thought back, because when I share my story, it kind of shake me up. Okay, so where was I? Okay, the lady at Herman Kiefer, I told her, I cannot leave here. If I leave here, I'm going to die. So the lady was like, look, we finna find somewhere for you to go. At the end of the day, she found a treatment center called New Life. The program was 6 months to 2 years. She said, you going in for 6 months. I said, let's go. Well, I ain't had nowhere else to go. So I went to New Life, and that's where my new life began. I went in treatment. I was already institutionalized before I got there because I grew up in institutions, living in institutions, group homes, people homes. I was already institutionalized, so I could get along with anybody. I'm like a chameleon. I could fit in wherever I go. I could act accordingly. I could be whoever you want me to be at any given time, right? So, I go to New Life. I don't know what I done signed up for, but I'm willing to try anything to save my life. So I get to treatment, and it's like a group home setting. All these women, all these personalities, but I didn't care because I was there just to try to get me some help because I didn't want to get high no more. Only to get there and find out that I wasn't alone. And that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Just finding out that I was not alone, because I felt like I was in this world all by myself. I felt like I ain't had nothing to lose because I ain't have no kids. I ain't feel like I was hurting nobody. I ain't feel like nobody cared because my mother and father both of them got killed. You know, I never knew my father, only when I was little, but he was never a part of my life. I don't even know when I lost him, but my father was a bank robber, so he was in prison all my life. So anyway, to speed this up, I go to treatment. I'm ready to go along with whatever. So when I got there, it wasn't about focusing on everybody else. The focus was truly on me and how do I stay clean. So I go in treatment. We getting along, we reading and doing these didactics. And then they took me to my first outside meeting, which was an AA meeting. We went to the AA meeting, and it was okay. It was okay. And then the next time we went out, we went to an NA meeting. And when we went to the NA meeting, right, I was like, okay. We went and we sat down. They read Who's an Addict. I knew I was in the right place. everything that they read in that basic text, in that Who's an Addict, was me. That was my story. And at that time, at that place, I felt a peace, a sense of surrender that was felt on the inside. This ain't had nothing to do with picking up no key tag or nothing like that. On the inside, I knew I was done. I said, I am safe, right? And so I went back to the treatment center. I stayed my whole 6 months. They tried to get me to sign up to stay for 2 years. But I was so excited to get back to NA. I was like, no, I know what to do. The people at NA told me to keep coming back. They told me to keep making means. They told me what to do. They told me that this is a safe environment. I was running it down, what they was telling me. And so anyway, while I was in treatment, I did have a chance to do an autobiography and all of this stuff. So I had pretty much did a 4th step with my counselor before I left treatment. You know, I'm the one that they said wasn't going to make it. I'm the one that they had bets on. I'm the one that they said, she not going to make it. She too hard-headed. She this. But one thing you can't do is count nobody out. Because this program ain't about the 12-step program that I go to. It ain't no big eyes and little U's. And you don't know who God going to let make it. But anyway, I get to Narcotics Anonymous. They wouldn't even give me my treatment center papers to say that I completed, because I wouldn't sign the papers to stay for another 18 months. So I said, okay, y'all don't want to give me my papers? I left. I'm not telling nobody who hear this to leave treatment, because what worked for me might not work for you. So don't you try this. But anyway, I said, okay, y'all don't got to give me them papers. Them papers not going to keep me clean. I got work to do, right? So I left treatment. I went to my sister's house. I had my sister's whole support all while I was in treatment. My sister came pick me up on weekends, took me to her house, fed me, bought me clothes, like she was the big sister. Like she was my mom, right? And I love my sister because she never turned her back on me. She was always there for me, never gave up on me, always believed in me, no matter what. She had my back. So I go to my sister's house. My sister let me stay with her. Boy, my sister was so nervous. She was like, why did you leave that place? Whoa, 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 whoa. Anyway, I said, well, I'm finna start making the meetings. And next day, when I got home, the same day, I made a meeting. They brought me back home from the meeting. I asked the guy who took me home, can you come back in the morning and get me for a meeting? Because they said if you ain't got no job, then you can make meetings all day, every day until you get your build on your foundation. And that's what I did. I made meet from sun up to sundown, 3-4 meetings a day. Wherever they went, I went. It didn't make no difference if I had money or not, because after the meeting, it was the meetings after the meetings that really helped me too. Taught me how to socialize and get back to regular living, learning how to live again, learning how to interact with humans again, right? So I get to the meetings, they was like, I didn't hang out with people who had the same amount of clean time as me. I hung out with people who had double-digit clean time because they knew something. You know, they stayed clean all this time. I want to be like them. So them the kind of people I hung around. Them the kind of people who told me what to do. Them the kind of people who told me to go, you chairing this meeting, or you get on this committee, or you're going to be the activities chair, or you do this and you do that. Empty the ashtrays, sit the chairs down, empty the cigarette cans, because at this time we was smoking in the churches in the basement. But that's how far back I go. We didn't even have cell phones. I got into this program, to the NA program, and I jumped in 100%. Just like I was doing 100% out there in these streets, I jumped in 100% in my recovery. Because you only going to get out what you put in. So I've had to put my all in all, and because I want to live, right? So I got into the program. I started doing service work. I started following people with double digits. I ain't hang out with the people that had the same amount of clean time as me. I did what I had to do for me. I didn't hang out with people who had the same amount of clean time as me because we couldn't help each other. Only thing we could do was talk each other back up into going to the crack house. And unfortunately, recovery don't work on a buddy-buddy plan. You came in this world by yourself, you leaving by yourself. And that's how recovery is. You came in here for yourself, you got to help yourself. That's why they say it's a self-help program. You know, it don't work on the buddy-buddy plan. I done seen people go up out of the program, buddy-buddy, they hook up and go out, one make it and one don't. I ain't willing to take that chance. So I just stay in here. But I got in here and I start getting a taste of this recovery, and I liked it, you know, even through the ups and downs, because recovery don't always feel good. You got to deal, feel, and heal, right? And some of this stuff didn't feel good because you got to go on the inside and you start pulling off these layers and you start meeting people, you meet good people, anything you want in the program, you can find it. You know, if you're looking for recovery, you can find it. And that's what I was looking for, recovery. You know, and so I found it, you know, and it's like 28 years later, you know, Lord willing, December 28th, I have 29 years. I know I will, because I'm going to stay in position. I'll be just as excited today as when I first came around here. But I remember going to my first NA convention, and I was like, I seen all these people from all over the world. I was excited. And I said, oh, Lord, this is home. You know, I knew I wasn't going nowhere. You know, I'd rather deal with everything that's going on up in there than deal with everything that's going on out there in them streets. You know, I stand a better chance in here. So I just stay in position in the program, you know. And so doing that, doing service work got me closer, built relationships with people. You know, one thing I learned about recovery and just life in general, ain't nothing permanent but change. Because the people that was in my life in the beginning of my program, my whole circle didn't change. My circle done flipped over so many times. I know, and I learned that the more spiritual you get, the smaller your circle. You know, because the light starts shining on you, it starts shining on the people around you. And if everybody don't want their light to shine, you know, and it's like when God got something for you to do, it's for you to do. It ain't for you to take your friends shine. It's for you, because I be trying to take people places with me that's only meant for me. That God have only I can do this task. You know what I'm saying? But I want to save this person and I want this person to come. If we could pick and choose who get this program, I would save my little sister. But unfortunately, we don't get to do that. But what I do get to do is to be an example for her and let her know that, look, it's a way out. When you get tired, not when Sean get tired for you, but when you get tired, because I know if don't nobody else know, it's up to the person, to the individual, because it's not gonna work if you're doing this for your mama, if you're doing this for your kids, if you're doing this for anybody other than you, it's not gonna work. It's just not. This is for those who want it, not for those who need it. And I wanted it, and I still want it, you know, today. You know, even with time in the program. That's not to say that I don't think about getting high, because I do. I just don't act on it, you know, and I know where it'll take me. Places I don't want to go and keep me longer than I want to stay. And God already showed me what's going to happen. I ain't forgot about the people carrying that person out carrying me out of that building in a body bag. They still got some vacant buildings in Detroit waiting on me if I pick up. You know, I'm just one away like the next person. I just do the maintenance for me not to pick up. You know, I just do the work. So that's using will not be an option. You know, I might do some other stuff, but I'm not gonna pick up no dope. You know what I'm saying? And so being in this recovery process has been just the best life I ever lived. You know what I'm saying? I finally got a chance to grow up, finally got a chance to take care of me, finally got in the streets, from the streets to the seats. You know, I share my story all over the world. I went from walking the streets to becoming a street reporter for Ask the Messengers TV show. I have recovery houses where I help men. I also have a landscaping business. You know, just blessings after blessings. You know, when you stay in position, I have friends, not associates. I actually have a couple of good friends. right? I'm learning the difference, and I know how to be a friend, and I know what I look for in my friends, right? And so, just coming around here, growing up, period, being able to take care of myself. I don't have to be in them streets, being no hoe, because I got a husband today. So we do become housewives, and we do become loyal, because what I found out about being in relationships, because I thought for all my life I would be able to get what I want with my body, but that's don't always happen like that. Because when you sit down, you settle down, and you start thinking about getting in some relationships with somebody, you gotta bring more than face and butt, because DTE don't want no head, they want that bread. Comcast don't want no head, they want that bread. They will cut you off, so I don't know. Recovery is fun. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. Most of the time I'm up. So, it's just a good feeling to be in this position that I'm in now. I don't never want to get high no more. I don't care what happened. I don't care who come up in here. I don't never want to get high no more. So with that being said, I'm gonna leave y'all with these three things. It's only three kind of days an addict can have: a good day, a bad day, and a great day. A good day is when you wake up clean and you make it back to bed clean. A bad day is when you wake up clean and you go use, but you can come back. A great day is when you get up clean and you go through bull stuff after bull stuff after bull stuff after bull stuff, and you still making it bed clean. You just had a great day. Thanks for letting me share.